What if I told you there's a group of people who can keep their food fresh for months without using any electricity or gas? No fridges, no freezers, just pure old-school wisdom passed down through generations. And it could save you over $1,200 a year. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you've ever worried about power outages, rising grocery bills, or what happens when your fridge breaks in the middle of summer, you're going to love this video. Today, we're diving deep into how the Amish preserve their summer harvests without any electricity. That's right, no freezers, no canning machines plugged into outlets, just centuries-old techniques that work like magic. Picture this. It's July. You've got bushels of vegetables, gallons of milk, and slabs of meat from butchering day. Now imagine realizing your fridge doesn't exist. What do? The Amish have cracked this problem beautifully. From root cellars buried in the earth to fermentation, pickling, and even sun-drying. These methods aren't just fascinating, they're practical, sustainable, and surprisingly effective. And here's the kicker. Families using these techniques save an estimated $1,200 plus annually on energy and food waste. Whether you're trying to cut costs, reduce waste, or reconnect with more natural ways of living, this video is packed with ancient wisdom you'll want to try yourself. Before we dive in, drop a comment below. What's one thing you've tried to preserve at home? Or what method are you most excited to try after watching this? One Amish basements, nature's refrigerator picture. A fridge that uses no electricity, makes no noise and costs nothing to run. Sounds impossible? Well, the Amish have been using something like that for generations. Hidden beneath their homes are basements built not just for storage, but for keeping food fresh all summer long, without power, without machines, just nature doing its thing. These basements are more than just cool places underground. They're carefully designed to stay about 30 degrees cooler than the air outside. How? By using the earth itself as insulation. The ground stays around 55 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, so even when it's blazing hot above, down below it stays comfortably cool. That's perfect for storing vegetables, dairy, and even meat. The walls of these basements are thick, sometimes up to 18 inches of stone or concrete. This helps keep the temperature stable. Small windows are placed just right to let in a bit of airflow when needed, but not so much that heat sneaks in. It's like a natural fridge, only smarter. And here's the best part. No electric bill. Amish families save over $1,200 a year compared to people who rely on regular refrigerators. That's because they don't waste food nearly as much. Their basement stays cool enough to slow spoilage, so food lasts longer without needing freezers or plastic wrap. They don't even use thermometers. Instead, they watch plants. Spinach wilts if it gets too warm, so if it stays crisp, they know the basement is still doing its job. It's simple, smart, and completely free. During a big blackout in 2003, many people lost hundreds of dollars worth of food, but Amish families didn't miss a beat. Their milk stayed fresh, their veggies didn't rot, and life kept going like nothing happened. That's how good their system really is. So while most of us are plugging in fridges and worrying about power outages, the Amish are quietly keeping their food cool the old-fashioned way. And honestly, it might be one of the smartest things any of us could learn from. Canning marathons. A family affair. When summer hits and the gardens overflow with tomatoes, beans, and cucumbers, Amish families don't head to the store for more jars. They roll up their sleeves and get ready for one of the busiest, most social events of the year, the canning marathon. This isn't just a day in the kitchen. It's a full-blown community event that feels more like a festival than work. Multiple families gather in one home, bringing extra hands, fresh produce, and generations of experience into one place. The goal? To preserve hundreds of pounds of summer's bounty before it spoils, using nothing but heat, vinegar, salt, and thyme. Picture this: rows of glass jars lined up on long tables, steam rising from massive pots, and dozens of people moving in perfect rhythm, filling, sealing, processing. One family might process over 500 jars in a single day. That's enough food to last a household of 6 nearly half the year. And here's where the real magic happens. Science meets tradition. The Amish know exactly which foods need pressure canning and which can be processed with boiling water alone. Low-acid vegetables like corn and green beans go through pressure canning at 240 degrees Fahrenheit, enough to kill dangerous bacteria like botulism. High-acid foods like tomatoes only need a boiling water bath, but they follow strict rules to keep everything safe, even without fancy digital timers or thermometers. They've also found clever ways to adapt equipment for life without electricity. Specialized propane-powered canners handle large batches, while water bath setups feature smart airflow designs that keep temperatures steady, even on windy days. But it's not all serious business. There's laughter, storytelling, and yes, even a bit of mystery. Ever wonder who eats the test batch of pickles after they're done? Ask an Amish elder, and you'll usually get a wink and a shrug. The preacher always asks, one chuckled, but somehow no one ever confesses. Beyond the flavour and fun, there's another big reason these marathons are so popular: cost savings. Each homemade jar costs around 80 cents to make, compared to $3 to $5 for store-bought versions. And because they use every part of the harvest, there's almost zero waste. These gatherings aren't just about food preservation. They're about passing down skills, strengthening community bonds, and making sure everyone has enough to eat through the winter. It's tradition, teamwork, and taste, all rolled into one. And as the jars seal with a satisfying ping, it's clear. This is more than just putting up food. It's preserving a way of life. 3. Fermentation. The magic of good bacteria. If you think fermentation is just for trendy health gurus or hipster kitchens, think again. The Amish have been fermenting food for centuries, and they've turned it into an art form. No fancy airlocks, no digital thermometers, no electricity. Just thyme, salt, and a little help from nature's tiniest workers, bacteria. In the heart of every Amish kitchen, you'll find crocks bubbling away on counters, quietly transforming cabbage into sauerkraut, cucumbers into tangy pickles, and even fruits into probiotic-rich treats. But this isn't random magic, it's science working with tradition. Beneficial bacteria naturally found on vegetables convert sugars into lactic acid. That acid acts as a powerful preservative, stopping harmful microbes in their tracks while giving fermented foods their signature sour kick. And it's not just about flavour. These foods are nutritional powerhouses. Studies show that regular consumption of fermented foods can boost gut microbiome diversity by up to 40%. That means better digestion, stronger immunity, and even improved mood, something many Amish elders credit for their long, healthy lives. The process starts simple. Vegetables go into a stoneware crock layered with salt, then pressed down under weights to keep them submerged in their own juices. This creates the perfect oxygen-free environment for good bacteria to thrive. Some families still use ceramic weights passed down through generations, some over 150 years old. It's not all cabbage and cucumbers either. The Amish ferment everything from corn relish to beets, even grains like oats and wheat berries. Fermented oatmeal becomes a winter breakfast staple, packed with probiotics and easier to digest than its unfermented cousin. And the best part? None of it needs refrigeration. Once fermented, these foods can last for months, stored right alongside canned goods and dried fruits. Timing and care make all the difference. A proper ferment should smell pleasantly sour, never rotten. Colours stay bright, flavours develop slowly, and a gentle tang builds without overpowering. If something smells off or turns slimy, it's tossed. Not because they're worried about botulism or mold, but because taste matters. After all, what's the point of preserving food if it doesn't taste good? Fermentation isn't just about keeping food safe, it's about enhancing it. Flavours deepen, textures improve, and nutrients become more bioavailable. It's a slow, natural process that modern fast food culture has mostly forgotten. But the Amish haven't. They know that sometimes the best way forward is to step back and let nature do the work. 4. Sun drying. Old school dehydration. When the sun's at its strongest, the Amish don't hide from the heat, they use it. Summer's blazing days become the perfect opportunity to turn fruits and vegetables into lightweight, long-lasting treats without a single plug-in appliance. Sun-drying is one of the oldest food preservation methods on Earth, and the Amish have mastered it with minimal effort and zero cost. All they need are wooden racks made from simple frames covered in food-safe mesh. These racks pop up all over Amish farms when temperatures rise, strategically placed to catch the most direct sunlight from mid-morning to late afternoon. Location matters. South-facing slopes get about 30% more sun exposure, which means faster drying times and better results. The racks themselves sit about 3 feet off the ground. This height keeps dust away and stops bugs from turning fresh fruit into their personal buffet. No electricity or fancy bug sprays needed, just good old gravity. Different foods need different timing. Fruits dry until they're soft and leathery, while veggies go until they're completely stiff. Herbs should crumble easily but still hold their colour. Get it right, and these foods can last for months without rotting, moulding, or losing flavour. But timing isn't everything. Weather plays a big role too. The Amish don't rely on apps or weather forecasts. Instead, they watch nature. Red skies, insect movement, and how plants react to the air help them predict if multiple sunny days are coming. That way, they know exactly when to start drying so nothing gets ruined by sudden rain. This method doesn't just save food, it saves money. Unlike modern electric dehydrators that run up energy bills, this system costs almost nothing to build or use. And unlike store-bought dried fruit full of preservatives, Amish sun-dried snacks are pure, natural, and packed with real flavour. So while most of us are cranking up the AC and complaining about the heat, the Amish are quietly turning that same summer sun into something valuable, food that lasts long after the season ends. 5. Smoking and curing, preserving meat without fridges. When it comes to preserving meat without electricity, the Amish have mastered 2 powerful techniques that have stood the test of time: smoking and curing. These aren't just old-fashioned methods. They're precise, science-backed processes that turn fresh cuts of meat into shelf-stable, flavourful staples that can last for months. Smoking is more than just a way to add flavour. It's a preservation method that uses heat, smoke, and time to stop bacteria in its tracks. The Amish use small wooden structures called smoke houses, tucked behind their barns, where they carefully control temperature and airflow to ensure perfect results. There are 2 main types of smoking: cold smoking and hot smoking. Cold smoking happens at temperatures between 68 degrees Fahrenheit and 86 degrees Fahrenheit. This method doesn't cook the meat, but instead dries and preserves it using the antimicrobial properties of wood smoke. Hot smoking goes a step further, cooking the meat while preserving it at higher temps, between 126 degrees Fahrenheit and 176 degrees Fahrenheit. The choice of wood matters a lot. Hickory gives a bold, smoky flavour that works well with beef. Cherrywood adds a sweeter note, perfect for poultry. Oak provides a balanced, medium-intensity smoke ideal for pork. Using the wrong wood can ruin the whole batch. Imagine maple smoked venison tasting like breakfast syrup. But before the meat hits the smokehouse, it usually goes through curing. Salt is the secret weapon here. It pulls moisture out of the meat, creating an environment where harmful bacteria can't survive. Amish families know exactly how much salt to use based on the size, cut, and fat content of the meat. A 10-pound ham needs about 5 days of curing, with each additional pound adding roughly half a day. Too little salt and the meat spoils. Too much, and it becomes inedibly salty. Once cured and smoked, the meat is stored in cool, dry spaces, wrapped in cotton or paper coverings that allow just enough airflow to prevent mold, but not enough to dry it out completely. The result? Ham that lasts longer than most modern relationships. And tastes better too. This blend of science, tradition, and craftsmanship shows just how advanced these non-electric food preservation techniques really are. And it's not just about survival. It's about flavour, quality, and making the most of what nature provides. 6. Sweet preservation. Honey, maple syrup, and fruit jams. When it comes to preserving food the sweet way, the Amish have mastered techniques that rely on nature's own preservatives: honey, maple syrup, and fruit sugars. These aren't just flavour boosters. They're powerful tools that stop spoilage in its tracks without needing a single drop of electricity. Honey is the ultimate natural preservative. Archaeologists once found 3,000-year-old honey in an Egyptian tomb, and it was still perfectly edible. The Amish know this secret well. They use raw honey not just for sweetening, but for sealing in freshness. Its low moisture content and natural hydrogen peroxide production create a hostile environment for bacteria. Different types of honey offer different strengths. Buckwheat honey has the strongest antimicrobial power, making it perfect for long-term preservation, while clover honey brings milder protection with a sweeter taste. Amish beekeepers even plant wildflower meadows to improve both flavour and shelf life. Maple syrup plays a similar role. With about 66% sugar, it acts as a natural barrier against bacteria when used in high enough concentrations. A half-acre of maple trees can produce around 35 gallons of syrup each year, enough to preserve hundreds of pounds of fruit without any added sugar or artificial preservatives. This makes it especially valuable during summer, when fruit harvests are at their peak. Fruit jams follow a time-tested method that needs no timers or fancy equipment, just patience and muscle memory. The Amish slowly reduce fruit until their arms tell them it's done. By removing about 70% of the original water weight, they concentrate both flavour and sugar, creating naturally shelf-stable preserves. Unlike commercial jams loaded with pectin and preservatives, these are made the old-fashioned way, with nothing but fruit, a little sweetener, and careful attention. Summer humidity can be tricky, though. To fight mould, Amish families only make preserves on days when indoor humidity drops below 60%. Some even add a splash of high-proof alcohol to stubborn batches to keep things fresh longer. These sweet methods don't just keep food safe. They also lock in nutrients and enzymes often destroyed by high heat processing. By using what nature provides, the Amish turn perishable fruits into delicious, lasting treats. No fridges, no freezers, just pure sweet science. 7. Root cellaring, nature's packaging. Some foods come with their own built-in packaging. No plastic wrap, no vacuum sealers, just thick skins, low moisture, and the right storage conditions. That's where root cellaring comes in, and the Amish have perfected it for generations. Carrots, potatoes, beets, and other sturdy vegetables can last up to 8 months without refrigeration, if stored correctly. The key is selecting the right varieties. Unlike the smooth, tender carrots you see in grocery stores, Amish farmers grow knobby, thick-skinned types made for long-term storage. These rugged roots hold up better, resist rotting longer, and keep their nutrients intact far past harvest season. Harvesting technique matters too. Instead of yanking them out by force, Amish gardeners loosen the soil gently first. They leave a thin layer of dirt on the roots. It acts like a natural barrier against moisture loss and decay. Once harvested, they store these vegetables using methods that control temperature, humidity, and airflow. Each vegetable has its own preferred setup. Carrots go into damp sand beds, keeping them crisp while blocking light that triggers sprouting. Onions get tucked into mesh bags for air circulation, preventing mold build-up. Potatoes are placed in slatted wooden bins, which allow for slow airflow while protecting them from light exposure that causes greening and bitterness. The ideal root cellar environment stays between 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity but good ventilation. Thick earthen walls help maintain stable temperatures, shielding produce from sudden weather changes. Wood shelves breathe better than plastic or metal, allowing just enough moisture movement without drying things out completely. These techniques don't just prevent spoilage, they preserve flavour and nutrition. Unlike refrigerated storage, which often strips away vitamins over time, root cellaring maintains food quality naturally. The result? Vegetables that taste better, last longer, and cost less to store. And the best part? You don't need an Amish farmhouse to use this method. With a few simple adjustments, even a modern basement can mimic these conditions. A corner lined with wood shelves, a sand bed for root veggies, and careful monitoring of temperature and airflow can turn unused space into a cool season food vault. This isn't just about saving money or reducing waste. It's about reconnecting with a smarter way of storing food, one that works with nature instead of against it, and one that's been quietly working for centuries. 8. Pickling, vinegar, salt, and tradition. When summer gardens overflow with cucumbers, tomatoes, and even watermelon rind, the Amish turn to one of their most flavourful preservation techniques: pickling. It's not just about making dill pickles. It's a time-honoured way to keep vegetables fresh and tasty for months using nothing but vinegar, salt, and tradition. Pickling works by creating an environment where good bacteria thrive and bad ones die off. The secret? A simple brine made from vinegar, salt, and spices like dill, garlic, and mustard seeds. This mixture lowers the pH level, making it nearly impossible for harmful microbes to survive. The result? Tangy, crisp, long-lasting vegetables that taste better with time. The Amish don't just pickle cucumbers, they pickle everything: green beans, beets, green tomatoes, watermelon rind, even flower buds that become caper-like treats. Nearly 40% of their garden harvest ends up in jars, transformed into probiotic-rich foods that support digestion and immunity. Many Amish elders credit these fermented pickles for their strong stomachs, especially during winter when fresh produce is scarce. Timing is everything. Vegetables must go from garden to jar within hours of harvesting to maintain crunch and prevent spoilage. Grape leaves are often added to the mix because they contain natural tannins that help preserve texture better than any store-bought additive. These jars aren't just for storage, they're part of a centuries-old ritual. Families use white oak barrels that have been in continuous use for over 100 years. These wooden vessels enhance flavour and encourage healthy fermentation without needing electricity or modern tools. And while some might think pickling is just a summer chore, for the Amish, it's a sign of wisdom. It shows how food can be both preserved and improved. How a simple cucumber can become something entirely new, full of life and flavour. As rows of jars line up on shelves, bubbling quietly under cloth covers, it's clear this isn't just about keeping food safe. It's about transforming it, making the most of every growing season, and honouring a tradition that has stood the test of time. 9. Dairy preservation, cheese, butter, and whey magic. When it comes to preserving food without electricity, dairy might seem like the biggest challenge. After all, milk spoils fast, and cheese can go bad if not stored right. But the Amish have cracked the code, and their methods are as clever as they are simple. It starts with fresh milk, straight from the cow, and poured into open crocks within hours of milking. Unlike modern pasteurization, which uses high heat to kill bacteria, good and bad, the Amish rely on natural souring. Beneficial bacteria take over, turning lactose into lactic acid. This lowers the pH and creates an environment where harmful microbes can't survive. The result? Milk that lasts for days without refrigeration, tangy, rich, and full of flavour. Cream rises naturally in raw milk left undisturbed. Once skimmed off, it's allowed to ripen at cool room temperature for a day before being churned into butter. This aged cream gives Amish butter a depth of flavour you won't find in store-bought versions. And because of the natural fermentation process, this butter also lasts far longer. No need for preservatives or additives. But how do they keep these dairy products safe through summer's heat? Enter the spring house. These small buildings are built over flowing streams, with stone floors that stay cool year-round. Water circulates beneath them, keeping temperatures around 52 degrees Fahrenheit, perfect for storing milk, butter, and cheese without power. Shelving is positioned to catch the coolest air currents, ensuring even cooling throughout the space. Cheese aging is another art form. Instead of vacuum-sealed plastic, Amish families allow their cheeses to develop natural rinds. These rinds act as protective barriers against mould and bacteria, while allowing the cheese inside to mature slowly and safely. Regular turning and careful humidity control ensure each wheel reaches its peak flavour. Even whey, the liquid left after cheese making, gets put to good use. Rich in protein and probiotics, it becomes starter culture for future batches, adds tang to bread dough, or feeds livestock. Nothing goes to waste. These techniques aren't just about survival, they're about enhancing flavour, nutrition, and sustainability. By working with nature instead of against it, the Amish turn one of the most perishable foods into something lasting, delicious, and deeply nourishing. 10. Adapting Amish wisdom for modern homes. You don't need a farmhouse in Lancaster County or access to a 150-year-old fermentation stone to benefit from these time-tested preservation techniques. The Amish have spent generations perfecting food storage without electricity, but the good news is many of their methods can be adapted for modern homes, apartments, and small kitchens. Take the basement, for example. Most modern basements naturally stay between 55 degrees Fahrenheit and 65 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Warm enough to store root vegetables, squash and onions without rotting, and cool enough to slow spoilage. By identifying the coolest corner, usually on the north side where sunlight doesn't reach, you can create your own mini root cellar with minimal effort. A basic shelving system costs under $100 and can hold hundreds of pounds of produce. Add a simple thermometer to monitor temperature swings, and you've got yourself a low-cost, energy-efficient storage solution that reduces grocery waste and keeps your harvest fresh longer. Insulation makes a big difference too. Using rigid foam boards to line one corner of your basement or garage can dramatically improve temperature stability. For about $75 in materials, you'll save around $300 a year in reduced food waste and lower energy bills, just by keeping things cool the old-fashioned way. Ventilation is another key factor. Without proper airflow, ethylene gas builds up and speeds up ripening, which means your apples go bad faster and your potatoes sprout overnight. A simple passive ventilation system using 3-inch PVC pipes helps control this. One pipe pulls cool air from near the floor, while another releases warm air at the top, creating natural circulation that keeps food fresher longer. Material choices matter more than most people think. Wood shelves breathe better than plastic or metal, helping regulate humidity levels. Sand beds mimic the Amish method of storing root vegetables, maintaining high moisture levels right around the produce while preventing direct contact that spreads rot. even apartment dwellers, can get in on the action. Sun-drying herbs on a windowsill, pickling cucumbers in mason jars, or fermenting sauerkraut on a countertop are all easy ways to bring a little bit of Amish wisdom into city living. No smokehouse? No problem. Curing meat with salt and hanging it in a dry, well-ventilated closet can work just as well for small batches. These adaptations aren't just about saving money or reducing waste. They're about reconnecting with food in a deeper, more intentional way. When we take control of our food preservation, we also take back flavour, nutrition, and sustainability that modern convenience often sacrifices. So, whether you live in a suburban home, a downtown apartment, or somewhere in between, there's something valuable to learn from the Amish playbook. You don't need to give up electricity entirely, but borrowing a few pages from their book might just change the way you eat forever. The Amish have mastered the art of food preservation without electricity, using time-tested methods that combine tradition, science, and a deep understanding of nature. From cool underground basements to canning marathons, fermentation, and root cellaring, they've turned necessity into sustainability. These techniques don't just keep food fresh for months, they also enhance flavour, boost nutrition, and save money. Families using these practices often cut energy bills by over $1,200 a year while reducing waste and relying less on modern technology. And the best part? These methods aren't limited to Amish farms. With a few simple adaptations, anyone can apply them in modern homes, apartments, or small kitchens. Whether it's sun-drying herbs, pickling summer vegetables, or building a mini root cellar in your basement, these ancient strategies offer real, practical benefits today. By learning from the Amish, we're not just preserving food, we're preserving tradition, sustainability, and a smarter way of living. Sometimes, going back to the old ways is the most forward-thinking choice you can make.